Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Crimson Wrestling Federation. I am commentator Havoc, the voice of the Crimson Wrestling Federation. On your left is the Crimson Reaper. On your right is the Crimson Blaze.
All right, so this is episode 2 of Crimson Brothers Speak. This is the Backlash preview edition of
And Raw Review Edition. Raw Review / Backlash Preview.
/ SmackDown.
So yeah, / basically just up to date on everything that's going on since WrestleMania, which isn't much.
Which is nothing, really.
But, just what's going on right now.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let's start at last night, I guess. I didn't see much of the episode, which I have to say that I wonder if that's why I enjoyed the main event so much, because I didn't see any of the other nonsense on this show. And so I went in it kind of like with a fresh mind. What do you think? How did you feel about the show?
I thought maybe I could just be one of those easy to please people, like as far as wrestling, but I thought it was a decent show. I thought it was better than it has been really the last few months, because it actually had a good opening segment, and I feel like for the first time in a while, we actually had a segment that led to a main event. Like, I feel like you don't really see that nowadays. Like, Paul Heyman confronts Jey Uso, talks to him, and it's like, oh, Seth Rollins is going to challenge you tonight in the main event. So, like, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but I feel like we don't really get a lot of that anymore. Like, that's in my opinion, that's how you're supposed to book wrestling. Like, opening promo leads to main event. Like, even if it's a tag match.
SmackDown.
Yeah, even if it's a tag match, like, it should lead to the main event, like, because that exposition is supposed to draw you into, like, the rest of the show.
Sure. Okay, that's good. So the opening promo was good. What else stood out?
I even thought, I forgot her name, but I thought I liked the Io Sky match. I forgot who she was facing. But it's like the NXT girl.
Was it Roxanne Perez?
Roxanne, yeah, I forgot. I forgot.
Yeah, they have to do better at differentiating. All the people they just called up from NXT, because
that's literally what they're calling them right now. They're just calling them
NXT girls.
Yeah, the NXT girls. So I thought that was a good match. I also liked the Becky and Lyra segment. I keep forgetting her name too. I also liked that segment they did. I thought it was decent. And Otis versus Rusev, okay, kind of filler. I thought it was stupid that Rusev was like after he beat up Otis, it's like Tozawa like took his shirt off, stood up to him like, oh, fight me.
Tozawa.
Yeah, Tozawa. And then Rusev turns around, and then as they're aiding Otis, then he sneak attacks them. Like, Rusev shouldn't have to sneak attack him. It's Tozawa. He doesn't have to sneak attack Tozawa. But besides that, like, I thought it was a decent show.
Okay, cool.
So,
well, I'm happy that you enjoyed the show. Like, that's really what it's all about. I feel like, based on what you said, it seemed like a basic episode of Raw.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like fans are so deprived of good storylines in episodes that the main event last night seemed like, oh, wow, something's actually happening.
Maybe that's happened to me too, because like I've just gotten used to so much like filler or like bad main events that like maybe this wasn't even that good. It was just refreshing. But I thought it was like a solid. It wasn't amazing, but it was one of the best episodes I've seen in a while. Like, usually whenever I watch Raw, especially when the Cena and Cody stuff was going on, I would just tune in to the Cena and Cody promo and then just turn off the rest of the show. Like, I wouldn't even look at anything else. Or like I feel like a lot of times it's just like a one promo show, but this one actually kept my attention for the rest of the show, which doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah. Well, juxtapose that to SmackDown last Friday, where nothing happened. I mean, SmackDown happened like 4 days ago. I don't really remember anything that happened on SmackDown. So I'm wondering who's writing these shows. Like, there seems to be no consistency. But sometimes they do mirror, like they have storylines that mirror each other, like the triple threat stuff. For example, during WrestleMania with the World Heavyweight Championships, those are basically the same storylines, or the same concept. But this Raw seemed to have more stuff happening than SmackDown. Nothing happened on SmackDown.
Oh, yeah,
so I guess they just used all of their energy, their creative energy this week on Raw. But so now I'm gonna have to bury the main event, because it's like the same thing with the WrestleMania stuff where everybody's just kicking out of finishers. Like, in and of itself, that's not that exciting. Like a bunch of people doing their finishing move and then kicking out of it at 1 or 2 there's like that's not really good wrestling in and of itself. I feel like the main event was exciting just because the rest of Raw historically since being on Netflix has been so dull that
pretty much the only good one, and even you, that's what made you stop watching, was the first one. Like that was probably the best one
that
they had.
That's really sad. And I mean I would still say that's a better show than probably last night.
Yeah.
But not a great show by any means. But so yeah, now the actual match, I thought it was the most watchable Jey Uso match I've ever seen. That was because it was Seth Rollins. And I was kind of wondering where they were going to go with it because you don't want to cool off Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. Like right now, they just formed this group. You know, you don't want to put them in this match and then have them lose. And then they're kind of like just stuck in the upper mid card. And you also just gave the title to Jey Uso. Now, I would have taken the title off of Jey Uso the night after WrestleMania. Like, I would have had Braun Breaker go out there, challenge him, spear him, and then beat him. But, you know, so I wouldn't be, you know, losing any sleep if Jey Uso had lost last night. But it is disappointing that CM Punk is basically doing the same thing he did last year, where, like, he's feuding with somebody, and then they have a championship match and he interferes in their match to continue the feud.
That's basically all he does. It's just him it's just him screwing people out of the title. That's kind of his whole.
But this goes back to your point that you made on the last episode where when you have triple threats, it doesn't really resolve anything because he's still feuding with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. And so would Roman Reigns whenever he gets back. There's nothing has changed about the situation or the conscience between their relationship. So they're still stuck in the feud. The triple threat didn't do anything, clearly, because they're still feuding now. So I'm kind of sick of CM Punk, honestly. Like, it's just the same thing.
And there's someone I watch. His name is you might watch him too, Walt Clyde, or his name is Loose Cannon Walt Clyde. And he basically says, which is true, he says triple threats are not really exciting because unlike with one-on-one matches, you can't really make it a grudge match because even though one-on-ones that are just grudges aren't the most exciting either, like unless it's like a very like drug out, like interesting feud, but you can't really do that with a triple threat because one of them is not being pinned.
Right.
So like because fundamentally in a grudge feud, you're trying to prove, okay, I'm better than you. But in a triple threat, you're not proving that because there's one person that's not being pinned.
You're better than the person that you pinned.
Yeah.
It might not even be the case based on the circumstances of the match.
Because it could have, because even if Rollins, which he did, him pinning Roman Reigns means nothing because he got low-blowed by Paul Heyman and he was indirectly, which is true for any triple threat match, he was aided by CM Punk in some way in beating Roman Reigns. So like, you didn't prove you're better than either of them. So it doesn't prove anything.
But also CM Punk is not better than either of them. Especially at this point in his career. CM Punk is washed. CM Punk is basically in the same shape as John Cena, maybe even worse in the ring.
Yeah, I think he's worse. Honestly, I think he's worse than Cena. And that says a lot because at WrestleMania, all Cena did, like I said, was big boots, sidewalk slams, axe handles off the top rope. So he wasn't. Honestly, that's probably going to be that's going to be the rest of his run. It's just that right there.
Yeah, so disappointing to see CM Punk interfere in like every match ends in an interference. So that's not that surprising, but okay, so that was the go home show to Backlash. Somehow, there was no Logan Paul. Was Logan Paul on this episode?
So, funny enough, and I saw this on Instagram, actually. So, he was there, but he wasn't on the actual show. After the main event, he attacked Jey Uso off camera.
In a dark match?
No, it wasn't even a dark match. Like, it was like Jey Uso was, like, you know, high-fiving the fans and stuff. And he crept behind the barricade and punched him and then left.
Why?
So, it wasn't on the show, but it was on Instagram.
Why?
So, and you know what? I sort of... Even though it's probably better to just have him on the show, but I do kind of give them credit a little bit for little moments like that because it makes it feel, how do I say it? Like, it gives the illusion that anything can happen. Like stuff is, I like the narrative that stuff happens even outside of the show. So I kind of like that to some degree.
This is what I don't understand about this company because, yeah, they do stuff like this, but then they constantly break kayfabe.
That's
with
the problem,
the press conferences, or they'll take pictures on Instagram with other people that they're feuding with, or Triple H will start the season of Netflix by saying this is fake. All of the stories are fake, and I wrote them. So they constantly break kayfabe. But then they do stuff to be like, oh, look, after the show, Kevin Owens got power driven by Randy Orton. But then they'll have a press conference and Triple H will be like, yeah, I wrote this to happen. I wrote Kevin Owens out for 6 months. Okay, you have to pick one. Either we're doing kayfabe or we're not doing kayfabe. We can't do it one day and then not do it one day, or have some people do it and other people don't do it. Pick a lane. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, that is a big problem. I don't even watch him that much anymore, but that is definitely a big problem with those press conferences. I don't know why he does them that way. I don't know, because it's like they'll be even within the press conference, they'll be partly in kayfabe, and then they'll break it again, like Jey Uso, I just won the world title, Oos. And he'll actually be celebrating in character, I did it, I'm celebrating. And then Triple H will come out oh, well, that was a good show. I like what we wrote. I like the stories.
The credits at the end of the show, executive producer. Is this a TV show or is it wrestling?
Yeah.
Because they're doing both. You're trying to do both. You're trying to please everybody. It is just dumb. So, in my opinion, just be wrestling. Let's stay in kayfabe.
Even in a TV show, you're supposed to stay within the bounds of a TV show. You shouldn't be breaking the fourth wall within the show.
I mean, okay, I'm trying to think of an example. Family Guy, an animated series, would sometimes break the fourth wall. They'd have a joke or something that, to understand the joke, you have to understand that you're watching a TV show. But that's an animated series, and we all know that we're watching an animated series. I'm trying to figure out, why is it dumb for wrestling if it's not dumb for Family Guy?
I mean...
But I know it's dumb for wrestling because it pisses me off.
I mean... I feel like it does have a place in wrestling too, to some degree, because wrestling does a lot of stuff is based in reality in wrestling, but you shouldn't just go flat out say, oh, I booked this. Oh, this is fake.
He literally will say, yeah, this is what we wrote or we changed.
But
they have a show where they're going inside the writer's room to broadcast the process of how they book the shows. But then they want to have kayfabe and post Logan Paul attacking Jey Uso on Instagram. It makes no sense.
There's some times where you can sort of break the fourth wall, and even some people don't like this, but I'm fine with Cena in promo. He's oh, I bury people, because at least he can kind of have a double entendre to it. He's breaking the fourth wall, but he's still staying in promo. But and that's kind of what Family Guy does. I don't watch much of it, but it won't be a full fourth wall break where the writer just be a joke. But it won't be oh, this show is scripted, this is animated. It's not that type of joke.
You're watching an animated cartoon.
It won't say that, but maybe it'll break the fourth wall in some way.
Well, Triple H literally said you're watching a fake TV show. That's in so many words. That's what
For more of the Crimson Brothers, follow the Crimson Wrestling Federation today. I'm commentator Havoc, the voice of the Crimson Wrestling Federation. And you can see the calls I've made in the Crimson Wrestling Federation, in the comic Crimson Wrestling Game, Story of Malice, in the description below.